And I got to do a fourth one because I kind of caught this one a little later. The Economic Collapse blog.com, Michael Snyder's site. Again, he's the guy running for Congress or whatever. I wish him the best of luck. I'd love to see him win. And I'll be honest, I think there's a good chance he just may. Idaho. Venezuela has officially abandoned the petrodollar. Does this make war with Venezuela more likely? We all know what happened to, some other countries in the past that didn't want to use our dollar. Saddam Hussein, Iraq, etc. So, I just talked about something the other day with China that, we're going to put sanctions on China if they don't, because of North Korea and this and that, and we'll take them, their ability to get into the dollar market and take it away. They're sitting on $1 trillion of our dollars now that they probably could dump at any second. Are you sure that's what you want to threaten them with? That's okay. Venezuela now has said F off. This is in WebBot report. This kind of stuff that I'm reading you about this has been in past WebBot reports in great detail about a future coming to us where this stuff starts happening. And now it's starting to happen. Venezuela is the 11th largest oil producing country in the entire world, and it has just announced that it is going to stop using the petrodollar. Most Americans don't even know what the petrodollar is, but for those of you that do understand what I'm talking about, this should send a chill up your spine. The petrodollar is one of the key pillars of the global financial system, and it allows us to live a far higher standard of living than we actually deserve. Do you hear how he worded that? He's actually right. The petrodollar is one of the key pillars of the global financial system, and it allows us to live a far higher standard of living than we actually deserve. He's right. We've been riding the coattails of this system, not on purpose. We're born into it. No problem. You just jump on the coattails. Hey, let's go for a ride. The American lifestyle. My mom, I refuse to live in poverty. You're living in my sister's house. You're not paying rent. You're living in poverty. Kind of. Yes, she lives with her, so no. But you get the point. We want that American dream. No other country on this planet has lived like we have. It's why they've always said, well, the United States uses the 25% of the world's output. In comparison, you're not 25% of the size of the world, not even kind of. You're a little fraction of a little percentage or whatever. You're nothing. So how the hell do we get to use 25%? That's why. And what did Lindsay say a while back? Lindsay Williams, back with Ken Fromm, You're gonna not live this American dream. It's going away. And we'll recover. It'll come back a little bit. But you will never have it like you have it now. That was his words to Lindsay. Which, by the way, I've had his DVD for the last few days. Have not had time to check the damn thing out yet. But I think I'd like to do that tomorrow. And take my little notes and tell you what the summary is. What's going to happen from now to December, according to Lindsay Williams. I'm still waiting for the big old stock market rally, melt up. 40, 50,000 Dow. Hasn't hardly moved. I mean, yeah, it's gone up a little bit, but just a little bit. Tiny bit, matter of fact. So, like I said, I felt like his information nowadays is just bad. But I know a lot of people still want to hear what he has to say, and that's why I got the DVD, but I have not watched it yet, and I will. I'll let you know. The petrodollar is one of the key, whatever. The dominance of the petrodollar has been very jealously guarded by our government in the past, and that is why many are now concerned that this move by Venezuela could potentially lead us to war. I don't know why this isn't headline news all over the country, but it should be. One of the few major media outlets that is reporting on this is the Wall Street Journal. The government of this oil-rich but struggling country, looking for ways to circumvent U.S. sanctions, is telling oil traders that it will no longer receive or send payments in dollars. People familiar with the new policy have told the Wall Street Journal. Before we go any further, we should discuss what we mean by the petrodollar for those who are not familiar with the concept. Following comes from an excellent article by Christopher Doran. In a nutshell, any country that wants to purchase oil from an oil-producing country has to do so in U.S. dollars. This is a long-standing agreement within all oil exporting nations, aka OPEC, the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. The UK, for example, cannot simply buy oil from Saudi Arabia by exchanging British pounds. Instead, the UK must exchange its pounds for US dollars. The major exception at present is, of course, Iran, one of the only holdouts in the world who refuse to do that. This means that every country in the world that imports oil, which is the vast majority of the world's nations, has to have immense quantities of dollars in reserves. As will be explained below, the fact that virtually everyone around the world has to use our currency to buy oil is a massive advantage for us. Venezuela knows this, and so in response to new sanctions being imposed upon them, they are hitting us where it hurts. Oil traders who export Venezuelan crude or import oil products into the country have begun converting their invoices to euros. The state oil company, Petrodollar de Venezuela S.A., known as PDVSA, has told its private joint venture partners to open accounts in euros and to convert existing cash holdings into Europe's main currency, said one project partner. The new payment policy hasn't been publicly announced, but Vice President Tariq El-Assami, who has been blacklisted by the U.S., said Friday, to fight against the economic blockade, there will be a basket of currencies to liberate us from the dollar. Again, Webbot, death of the dollar meme, coming to a planet country near you. Those of you in America, it's coming to your country. Remember the stories? You're going to see citizens, mostly military, whatever, all, since we're in 170 something different countries, trying to get back on planes and leave the country because we're being kicked out. They don't want to work with us anymore. We try to get out. They won't take the dollar. They won't accept it. They try to convert it. I'll convert here. No, we don't want it at all. We won't even convert it. Find another way home. That was in the data. And as I read this stuff, I read the other one from China the other day. This is there too now. There's another one. This is brand new. Are we getting closer to that kind of an event happening? If more nations start to follow suit, it would be absolutely disastrous for the United States. In other articles, I have detailed why the petrodollar is so incredibly important to our economy and our financial system. The following is an extended excerpt from one of those previous articles. So why is the petrodollar so important? Well, it creates a tremendous amount of demand for the US dollar all over the globe. Since everyone has needed it to trade with one another, that has created an endless global appetite for the currency. That has kept the value of the dollar artificially high, and it has enabled us to import trillions of dollars of super cheap products from other countries. If other nations stopped using the dollar to trade with one another, the value of the dollar would plummet dramatically, and we would have to pay much, much more for the trinkets that we buy at the dollar store in Walmart. In addition, since the US dollar is essentially the de facto global currency, this has also increased demand for our debt. Major exporting nations such as China and Saudi Arabia end up with giant piles of our dollars. Instead of just letting them sit there and do nothing, those nations often reinvest their dollars into securities that can rapidly be changed back into dollars if needed. One of the most popular ways to do this has been to invest those dollars in U.S. Treasuries. This has driven down interest rates on U.S. debt over the years and has enabled the U.S. government to borrow trillions upon trillions of dollars for next to nothing. But if the rest of the world starts moving away from the dollar, all of this could change. History has shown that when the status of the petrodollar is threatened, the U.S. is swift to take action. And it is very interesting to note that President Trump will be meeting with Latin American leaders next week. And the main topic for discussion will be the Venezuela crisis. U.S. President Donald Trump has invited 3 Latin American leaders to dine with him next week in New York as he seeks to address the Venezuela crisis and build bridges with the region after an acrimonious start with neighbor Mexico. The political and economic turmoil in Venezuela, source of 10% of the oil consumed by the United States, will almost certainly top the agenda when he receives the center-right presidents of Peru, Colombia, and Brazil at Trump Tower on Monday evening, diplomats said. And aren't those 3 countries ones that we've kind of overthrown their leadership in the past? You know, a little CIA deal. by chance, could this latest move by Venezuela be enough to potentially spark a military conflict? The guys over at Zero Hedge seem to think so. Having threatened China today with exclusion from SWIFT, we suspect Washington is rapidly running out of any great ally to sustain the petrodollar-driven hegemony and, implicitly, its war machine. Cue the calls for a Venezuela invasion in 3, 2, 1, start. It would be absolutely no surprise at all if John McCain and Lindsey Graham start appearing on the major news networks calling for a war with Venezuela. But hopefully President Trump will not listen to such nonsense. No matter how important the petrodollar is, there is absolutely no reason to go to war to protect it. And if war talk does begin, the American people need to make their voices heard very, very loudly. We have been in useless wars before, and we certainly do not need another one. Take care.